I've asked you to come today so that I could talk about the horrible incident that occurred on the subway yesterday. At approximately 3:45 in the afternoon, a young woman came off of the subway and approached one of our officers to report that she and others had been assaulted on a subway car that was coming southbound from the area of Olney. The officer got more information from that victim and had that victim transported to Temple Hospital for a laceration. Our radio room, our communications center, began looking at the cameras that we have. We have 28,000 cameras. Began looking at the cameras to see if we could identify suspects. Pictures of potential suspects were sent out to officers that were on patrol. Within an hour, a transit police officer saw two of the suspects and stopped them at Olney Station. Because they couldn't be identified at that time, the officer verified their identification and the school that they go to and spoke to their parents and then released them until further investigation could occur. Today, let me back up. Yesterday, I've never received so many calls of support and resources being offered than I received yesterday. It was just amazing to hear from the Chinese community, from the school district, from the Philadelphia Police Department, from the Human Relations Commission. As soon as that video hits social media, I was receiving calls asking if we needed help. Our investigation was already moving pretty well. This morning, we had detectives visit Central High School because we didn't have other victims. We located other victims from Central High School. We had detectives go to the school where the two young women that we stopped attend and receive further information about the other two suspects. And a mother called when she saw her daughter as one of the people involved in the assault and reported her daughter as being one of the attackers. So a lot of good things happened from a horrible incident. So now Philadelphia Police Department and the school district are working with the victims, providing resources, trauma treatment, getting them to be whole again, and we're arranging for something that we've tried with other schools that never really worked, and that was an escort service for their students. We will have an officer waiting at Olney, waiting for students that want to ride with a police officer. And the benefit of this is the officer can start to get to know the kids because we'll have the same officer there, and we'll have an officer on a train full of kids that are coming from Central and going to South Philly. That starts today. So the investigation has led to positive identifications of the suspects. Affidavits for arrest warrants are being prepared right now with charges of ethnic intimidation, aggravated assault, simple assault, recklessly endangering another person, and terroristic threats. Questions?
J.C., you want to mention the meeting that
Oh, I was on a conference call just before this with the Chinese community, arranged by Councilperson Gim. Councilperson Squila was on the call, the school district, Philadelphia Police Department. More than 300 people logged on to hear what happened, to provide input, and to work with us in making sure this doesn't happen again.
So your officer stops the two that they could identify through the fix.
Correct.
But you don't have a warrant, you don't have an affidavit, you cannot arrest.
Correct.
But you know where they are? You can go back and get them as soon as the affidavit's there? You're comfortable you're going to get them?
I am, yes.
You are?
Yes.
How many suspects are there and what are their ages?
4 suspects from the ages of 13 to 16.
Is there a racial component?
Yes. This was an attack based on ethnicity, and ethnic slurs were used by the attackers, hence why we're charging ethnic intimidation.
You can lay out the identities or the ethnic makeup of the folks who are the attackers and who are the victims?
The victims are Asian and the attackers are African American.
Is it women? Is it girls on
It is girls on boys and a girl.
Were they all students from the same high school, Oakland Central High School?
They were not.
So all the attackers were female, and one of the victims was a male, and the rest were female?
No. All the attackers are female. 3 of the 4 victims that we have are male, and 1 is female.
And they're all teenagers?
Correct. Everyone is teenager.
What do you tell to parents that might be maybe afraid to let their kids go to school now, get into train, and maybe be assaulted?
Yeah, you know, look, you watch that and it's scary. Kids should be able to take the subway to school without being in danger of being assaulted. We can't have a police officer on every train or every car. We count on people letting us know when there are problems. We have police officers at key locations to prevent problems. What I would say is if something happens, we want to know right away. And in this case, because we were notified right away, we got great progress in this investigation early on that helped clear it. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
Just to confirm, there were 4 suspects and then 4 victims, and the victims were all attacked on the same subway ride?
Correct.
Okay. And do we know what started the altercation?
No, it was unprovoked.
So, what is your police presence on that? Let me start again. Had you had prior attacks similar to what we're talking about now on that car? Kids attacking kids, people of color attacking Asian folks. Any history there?
I think we may have had one other Asian assault in recent history.
This school year?
No, not this school year. No, this school year has actually been better than past years, and I don't know why, but it has been better than past years.
What is your police presence, or was your police presence on that train yesterday during this event?
We did not have an officer on board that train. School dismissal time, the period from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. is our heaviest deployment period. Everyone is on the line that's working. So we have people that are assigned to specific stations on trains. They're in locations where we predict we will have a problem, and we try to prevent it from occurring.
So that's not one of those locations?
A train?
That location we took? That
No, we had an officer at Erie. An officer was at Erie when the rider exited.
Not on the train?
Correct.
It's not. That train, at least, the train itself isn't one where you've had past problems?
No, we have officers that are on trains, but they're not on every train. There was not an officer on that train. Anything else?
Those kids say this when the police found them. They say anything?
I don't know.
Are arrests imminent, and will they face adult charges?
Well, we file an affidavit to the district attorney's office for an arrest warrant. It is then up to the district attorney's office on what charges will be lodged. And then we get a warrant and then serve the warrant and arrest the suspects.
Is there any indication that will happen soon?
Oh, I think it'll happen soon, yes.
Like within a day, 2 days?
Yes,
When your folks spoke to the victims,
yes.
what are they saying about the attack? Why do they think they're being singled out? Why girls of color are, for instance, attacking?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what our victims said to the detectives about why they believe. I know that they said that ethnic slurs were repeated and directed at them and mocking them for their heritage. I mean, it was clear that they were picked on because they were Asian. Yes, ma'am.
Give us some more details on this escort program. Is it at any other schools? Will it only be at Central High School for now?
Yeah, interestingly, we tried it at another school after consultation with parents and school administrators, and I imagine all of you would not be surprised. The parents and the school administrators thought it was a great idea. The kids, not so much. So they dodged the police officer train and found either other ways or rode on a train looking that didn't have a police officer. I think in this case at Central High School, the kids will want to be on a train with a police officer.
So Chief, just to be clear, there were 4 suspects, there are no others you're looking for, and they've all been identified.
That's correct.
Were the victims students of Central
Yes. All right?
And 3 male, 1 female.
Correct.
Alleged victims.
Correct.
All of Asian descent.
Correct.
And all the suspects.
Oh, and let me say one thing about the female victim, and I'm sorry I forgot this. This is important. She was a hero. You know, like I talked about that on the conference call before this press conference. She stepped up and told the girls to stop saying what they were saying. She then became a target. Just truly heroic, courageous. I got a message from the assigned detective who's been working on this for close to 24 hours and said, we need to recognize this young woman for her courage. I agree. Tremendous courage on her part. I love that. So that is an important piece of the story.
I just have one last question. Would you urge these kids to be more aggressive in terms of protecting themselves, or
No.
It does seem that they were being struck and they passively. And
No.
Is there any way to defend or to push back?
Well, I don't recommend fighting back. I recommend the people that are seeing this to call the police so that we can intervene and catch those people while they're on that train.
So they were being harassed in general, and then the young lady one who stood up and said stop.
Correct.
No word for cause, or if like somebody said something beforehand, or
There's no indication at this point. I mean, when we talk to the suspects, perhaps they'll have a different version, but there is no indication at this point that there was any provocation on the part of the victims. Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
My pleasure.